something huge, big thing have happened yesterday. It happened. I got the answer from God. This is in the late July. No, it's not late. It's 17, I think, July 2022, and I live in Sweden. And I am a prophet from God, and I felt that I should make my passport in, because I'm going to leave in November to Israel, and I didn't know how to do it because I have only my retirement money for old age to spend, and that is, I have a little retirement because I have been staying home mom, and then I was in United States, so I didn't build up any retirement, and then I become sick in my body when I was 50 years old, and then I got retirement because of my illness, my pancreas. And then I didn't get any big money. I get the same retirement money as that is coming to Sweden, that am old, and they have never worked in Sweden for 1 year, and they have the same retirement like me, but I think they have a little more because they are immigrants, and they feel sorry for them to build up their life in Sweden, so I think they have more money than me. And but anyway, I have the lowest money, and that is enough for me to handle the month. I get paid once a month, and sometimes it can be hard the last week, but I have a store up food, so I can take that food to eat. So I am okay. I am used to stay low and calm in this with the money, because I was homeless, so I didn't have any money at all. So I have been educated in God in that way also, that don't be stressed because of the money, the lack of money. And so yesterday it's fun because a friend on Facebook, that we become friends because I told him that we were related, so he be interested of it. And then yesterday he said that there is much money to win on the lottery, he wrote. It is the biggest. There is a lottery called Eurojackpot, I think it's called, and now it's extremely high, much money to win. The most money to win ever, I think. At least here in Sweden, is it? And he I wrote about it, and it's in 2 days from now. The lottery is going on, so I say that so I was thinking I am going to pay for a lottery ticket, and I only buy a lottery ticket that is for one row of numbers. I don't buy many for much money. I am thinking, like, if God wants me to grant it me with money, then I don't need more than one, pay for the lowest in the lottery. So I have done that sometimes, but this time I was thinking that it's stupid to not do it. I have to pay the lottery ticket, and I don't do it every time. Sometimes I do it because I will give God tools to give me money. But now I say, I wrote on his post, I say, if I win that money, I am going to move to Israel. And then only 2-3 hours after, I was thinking I have to pay for that lottery ticket. So I went into this site that have this lottery. It's from the government lottery. And I have no money to pay for it. So I have to transfer money from my bank account to that site to could pay the lottery ticket. So I opened up my bank account and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was lots of money have coming in on my bank account, and I didn't know how it could be. And this is, I get my retirement money tomorrow. So I was very out of money now, and suddenly it was lots of money on my bank account, and I have to look at it many times because I couldn't believe. And then I tried to see who have sent me this money, and I can't see it. It's not there who have sent it. So I don't know who have sent it. But if it's not, it's always this from God things that someone have heard God telling them to send me money, or if it is only it's coming from God and nowhere else, because there is no one sender of the money. It says it's blank, and so I was worried because first it was the big money was on my bank card, and that is those hackers can take the money from me if they find out that I have lots of money. So I have to place it. I have a bank account that have nothing with my Visa card to do, my bank card to do. So I place it there, and then I send some money to pay for the lottery ticket. And then I was thinking that God have have told me that it's time to go to visit Israel again. It will be my fourth time. So it's when God come down and talked to me in year 2000, and then I left everything in Sweden and took the flight to United States. And when I was in the United States, my husband that I left, he used my bank account and clean it out from all money. So I didn't have any money on my bank account to could help me in United States. And then he ordered many things in my name here in Sweden, and he not pay the rent for our home, and he lived in our home about 9 months, and he didn't pay the rent for 9 months. And then he was selling. He had this mobile scooter for he was disabled. So, and all the equipment he had got from the health care to loan, that he was selling to Germany. So when I come back to Sweden, I have all kind of bills, very, very much bills, and I have to pay back for this scooter and other wheelchair he had in the home also, and all things that he have sold to Germany that was from the healthcare. So I had lots of money that I have to pay, and I didn't have any money when I come back to Sweden. So this money had growing. It's not very much money, because I could claim that they reduce the money and they have taken away very much. The healthcare doesn't ask me for the money anymore, and some bills, but those bills that is from the government, that no one can complain about it. We have to pay. So there is no kindness in this. So I have this money that is government money that I have to pay back, and I have not could do it because I don't have that kind of money. I have had those money, but those money have going into God's work, the will of God. I have placed the money to those extra money I have got to sell my kittens. I have been to Israel 3 times, and I was going to Africa and give very much in money in Africa, and I was going to Portugal, and then I was to United States for those money, and I didn't pay back. I was thinking in some way God will help me to pay those bills, because those bills was created because I obey God, and so it's not me that have done those bills. So God, if I have stayed in Sweden with my husband and my kids, I should not have those bills, but I obey God and took the flight to United States. So when this money was coming, I knew it was not the money to pay the bills. It was money to fly to Israel, and I have to clean up my bank account because the government, my bank, can open up for to take my money to pay all these old bills, and they steal. I feel it like they steal from me, so I have to place the money in other places. So I have already bought a flight ticket to Israel for that money I got, and then I exchange the money also to shekel. The money for Israel, I have already paid that. So those money is going there. And then in this morning, when I wake up, I knew that I should pay my rent for this month, for next month. So I pay that, and that make me good. Don't need to pay my rent when I am in Israel. I don't need to be worried and stress about that I need to pay the rent. And I can pay the rent in Israel, but that stress I don't want to have. So I pay the rent for those money. So if you have heard from God and have sent me this money, you know what I have spent this money. It's not yours. It's not mine money. It's God's money. All money is God's money. And so I pay the rent, and then I always pay the rent when I get my retirement. So I am 1 month before I normally pay the rent, and I'm going to do this the whole time now. So I have already paid my rent when I am in Israel, and it's due for it to be. I exchange money for in shekel, the Israel money. I took about $900 and changed it to shekel, and then I pay for the flight, and then an extra, because I have to pay a little more when I'm disabled, and then I pay the rent for my home. So if you listen that have sent this money, I don't know where the money is coming from, but you should know what I did with that money. It's only about God and God's will. And I knew that it was God's will. I knew it already when I did my passport. And they say, it's 5 weeks to wait for the passport to be done. And I say, I am not going to travel before November. I'm going to Israel in November, I say to the police. So I'm okay with the passport to wait for it. I am a prophet, so I know, man. I don't know everything, but I know what I hear from God, what I hear from my ancestors, and I know my ancestors is behind this also, because I know that when coming to Israel, and this time I hope I find a husband in Israel. And if I could live in Israel, that will fulfill everything that was from the start, why they are sending me here on earth. It's a spirit here because I got the knowledge now about what everything was about. I didn't know before I start to talk now that why they were sending me here to this planet. It was because they wanted me to fulfill for them to come back to Israel. You know, I was surprised when I found out that I was Jewish. I had so many Jewish ancestors, and more than what the DNA was telling, because they had changed their names and they move around all over the world. So they can't know how many Jewish DNA I have, because when they say I had 25 Jewish DNA in me, then how they find out the Jewish DNA is to find out where they lived. I have talked about this before, but I say it once again, that the DNA, they say you are Jewish, that means that they have found a settlement. When they go out from Israel, run away from Israel, they come in the group and they started a settlement, a village, a place where they could be in peace, and they built up this village or area with Jewish people, and that's how the DNA can find out that I was 25% Jewish. But as I am in Sweden, it's people, now when I do my DNA, I see they come from everywhere to Sweden. They come from Germany, from Russia, Germany, they come from France, they come from Hungary and Poland. They were coming from everywhere, and most from Denmark. They come up to Sweden and be my ancestors, and when they come to Sweden they change their names, and then they could live in Sweden, they have to convert to Lutheran Church. So those people, the DNA can't find them. So I am more than 25% Jewish. I don't know how much, because I'd be so surprised when I see a last name, a surname that is Jewish, and I thought it was Swedish sometimes. And then what? Like Freeman is a Jewish. I didn't know what it was, those surname I find in my DNA, and those are Jewish. So that's what I fulfill now. They send me down. They send me down. Of course they were talking to God about it, and it's they send me down, and they place me in an evil home, because for me to learn how to survive in all environment, because that's what they were. The Jewish people that is in heaven today, many of them was very strong. They could survive in everything they going through, in all environments. And so they wanted me. I know the Spirit is here, because this is not me. This Spirit is in me and tell me, and that I have to go through this with the devil's house to could learn how to survive, to be free from everything that is hit me the whole time, and still going on and be free from this that want to put me in like prison and in my mindset. And I could do it, and I know that in the United States, as be homeless, it was very hard. I have knife on my throat, I have gun on my head, and all the things, kind of evil things was happened to me, but I survived. And that's everything is about my ancestors, and so they have to run away from Israel when it was much about the Middle East war between all tribes, and then a Roman Catholic Church was there and do bad things, and they have to run away from Israel and come up to Europe. But now I will fulfill this, what they had, this that they want me to do, is that I return to Israel for them in that way, because they are in my DNA, and I carry them in my DNA, and they will come back to Israel with me. So in some way will it happen that I am going to stay in Israel. I'm going to live in Israel, because I have been to Israel 3 times, but that have not been enough. And I understand it now when the Spirit is talking inside me, that I have to live there. I can't only visit Israel. That is not to return to Israel. I need to place me there, because they want to return to where they were and come out from and come to Sweden. So that's what I'm doing, and it's been very, very interesting to see how they will do it in Israel. I am coming to Israel. I take the airplane from Finland to Israel this time. I have never taken Finnair, and I go to Helsinki, to the capital of Finland, from Copenhagen to the Finland capital, and then I change the airplane to Israel. So I hope I don't fly over Austria, because it was terrible it was very much turbulence. It was very hard to fly over those high Alps that I did last time. So I hope they take another way to Israel, not over the Alps. So I'm coming there at midnight. So I have ordered a room in Nablus, is where the Israelite Samaritan have their headquarter like that. So I'm coming back to Israel Samaritan, and that was the cheapest hotel to take when I'm coming there. It's so very, I have told you, it's cheap to take the flight to Israel, but to stay at the hotel is very expensive. So I find one hotel, and that hotel have transportation. So when I'm coming at midnight to Tel Aviv, I have a cab waiting for me and will find me, and I don't need to do any work on it. And then this driver take me to this Nablus hotel, and I sleep there the whole night, and then I will see what will happen. But I start fresh, and I have a man that has told me that he have a room for me, but I don't know. I don't know him. So I wait for God to tell me if it's not good to come to this man. But if everything working as it look like now, because I saw that he was living in Tiberias in Galilee Sea, and that's on its way to Galilee. Nablus laying there before, between Tel Aviv and Galilee's lake sea, and so he can come and get me there at the hotel, and I'm fresh to go. That's the plan just now, but I never know. God can change my plans in many ways. That is only what the plan is in my head just now. We will see what's happened. It's some weeks before I leaving, so everything can happen. Nothing is for granted. It's only what God, in God's will, that is granted. What is in my ancestors' will granted. But they have to go through God to do things. So it's always God that have the control. So that's is, you see, it was very much money I got in, like, or if it was donation or if it was God that did something, I don't know. and if it should be something that was not right to get the money in a way, I say my brain is so bad. I say that, so I was confused. I didn't know where the money come from. If it's something that someone have done wrong and sent me money that I shouldn't have, that I don't know. But I can. But in my way to be disabled and have been driven over of a car that damaged a little of my brain, that can be something I can say. I don't know. I say it to them. I only got my money and I paid a flight ticket to Israel with those money. I don't know. what will happen, and I don't care what happened because God will take care of it, and my young sister will take care of it. My young sister will. I understand today that my young sister wants me to live in Israel, to return to Israel for them. Thank you to listen at me, and God bless you like God have blessed me so many times.